Hey, what is going on, guys? In today's video, I wanted to talk about the yin yang and what the symbol really means to me and what it means in general. Now, I haven't even really studied it. I don't read into all this the kind of spirituality and stuff and the spiritual meaning behind it. I kind of just picked it up from my own intuition. Now, for anyone that is just an atheist or a science believer and just solely based around that kind of way of thinking and logic, or if you're on the other side, the other spectrum, you believe in spirituality or you're religious, we can all agree that everything in life, everything in the universe, is based off a positive and negative input output, whether that's through science, electronics. Everything in the universe explains that it's positive and negative energy. They feed off each other. Just the same with religion and spirituality, and exactly the same with the yin yang. Now with the yin yang, notice how the positive or the dark energy and the light energy are like connected, and it makes this whole symbol. They need each other to operate. I always see the yin yang as this kind of like this liquid that's like washing around, swishing around together, if you know what I mean. They're like connected and they just move around together. Now, the reason this is so deep, like the symbol is so deep, and it is the meaning of life. It really is. The meaning of life is about balance. It's about too much of anything is not good. Whether that's too much sugar, too much alcohol, too much anything, literally anything. You can't even like things that are seen as good, too much of it is not good. And it's exactly the same with positivity, right? Because I want to explain this in a bigger scale, right? Negativity, everyone knows that too much negativity is a bad thing. Everyone knows negativity is often perceived as a bad thing. As a whole, it is a bad thing. But you need negativity for positive energy to work. For positivity to exist, there has to be negativity. So negativity is arguably a good thing as well. Negativity is a bad thing, but it's also a good thing if you make it that way. Now, let's just say there was a world where negative energy didn't exist, right? I mean, I think the world is overhauled by negative energy, but let's just talk about, imagine if you couldn't comprehend it. Imagine if human beings could not take in negative energy. They couldn't comprehend negativity. An analogy I always like to use, and this way of thinking just goes through all of life, really. But let's go right to the basics, right? So, you're on top of a roof. Why do you not jump? Because you know you'll die. What is death? Death is a negative thought process. The thought of death, you standing on top of a roof, is a negative thought process. Death is a negative. It's arguably, people can see it as whatever. Some people could say it as a positive because it makes way for the new. But it is overall, death is a negative. Death creates negative energy. You know, when someone dies, it's often sad, and people might be angry or sad or whatever. It's often a negative thing. Right, so let's move on. Right, so you stand on top of a roof. You don't jump because you know you'll die. Death is a negative thought process, but it's also smart. And with that knowledge, I know it's common sense, as you'd call it, but it's still intelligence, right? So a negative thought process is still intelligent, it's still logical, it's still logic. Your logic tells you that you will die if you jump off. Even your instincts tell you that you know you'll die if you jump off, right? And by avoiding death, that allows you to live. Life is a positive energy. It's a positive thought. Life, when a newborn baby is born, everyone's happy, everyone congratulates. It brings happiness, and happiness is positive. Life is positive. The thought of life, being able to do anything The fact that you're lucky enough to be able to do anything, that you can just wake up every day and just live, is positive. Life is positive. Things being alive is positive. So by standing on top of a roof and knowing that if you jump off you will die, that's a negative thought process, but it creates a positive. Now that's the real basics, but a positive person, a person that could not, like, zero negativity was in their brain, right? They could not comprehend consequence. They could not comprehend death or any consequence or any negative thought process. They would jump. They'd be deluded. They would jump. A positive person that sees zero consequence is deluded. That is what I call is delusional. Someone who's overly positive. They would jump because they wouldn't see any negative. They would just fail to take that as a thought process. And of course, this is just an analogy. I'm not talking about this in a literal speaking, because obviously if someone was to stand up on a roof and jump, it's obviously to do with suicide. Suicide is the result of too much negativity in someone's life. It's where the negativity has overrun them and they couldn't fight back at it. That's what it is, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about the analogy of someone who can't comprehend negativity, and how, for an example, someone would jump off a roof if they could not understand the concept that you will die if you jump off, because death is a negative thought process, and if someone couldn't comprehend any negative thought processes, then they'd be oblivious and would jump. That's my point. Now, obviously, we all think, oh, well, that's just retarded if they jump, but that's just the real basics of it. It's the same with everything in life. When you're successful in something, you know, a lot of people say stay grounded, and I always say that a grounded person, a person that is often successful, uses positive and negative energy in a very balanced way. I think that a lot of success is down to your way of thinking, your kind of sort of balance and control over your ego. And a lot of times you can see people that are successful in something and they get too cocky and arrogant, or their ego gets too big and they just fail to see any consequence from there. And an example of everyday life, I don't know, say you're a footballer or say you're a musician, right? You're a musician and you make a song and everyone praises it. You then think, oh, I'm going to make it in the music industry. I don't need to get a job. I don't need to do anything. And you completely drop everything in your life because you solely believe that you have made it. Like you were going to, I mean, there's no problem with believing you're going to make it. That's positive and that's fine. But when you don't comprehend any negative, you're not prepared for anything else. So you're not willing to do anything. And you could even really take it to an extreme of, oh, I've made this one song. That means I'm going to get signed. That means I'm finished. Everyone's praised it. So obviously that's it, I've made it. And you never make another song again. You never work again. Like, as in, you never work harder to improve your sound, improve your ability. Same as a footballer. You could have a blinding game and you could play for like a football team and like an amateur football team and have a blinding game and think, yep, I've definitely made it. I'm definitely good enough to play for a Premier League club. And you don't work on improving. So when you go into training, you just slack because you think, well, I don't need to improve. Trying to improve is essentially, I believe, using a negative thought process and converting it into a positive, because it's knowing that you can still improve. It's like, oh yeah, that was great, but I know I can do better. I know it can get even better than that. Or yeah, that was great, but there's people out there that are still better than me, so it's still not good enough, so it's time to improve again. Subconsciously, you'll think that. Not all the time you'll actually think like that, but that is why you improve. That's why you strive to improve. Subconsciously, it's because of that. It's because there is always room for improvement. And that's a negative way of thinking converted into a positive outcome. Do you get what I'm saying? It's all about balance. They need each other. And it's the same as if everything was so easy in life, if everything was so positive 100% of the time, you wouldn't even know the difference between achievement. Sense of achievement would be lost. And whenever something else is great, you wouldn't notice it, you wouldn't appreciate it. And at times you could argue that hard times make you really appreciate things. And that's why another thing with the human brain is obviously a sense of loss really does change your thought process. And they always say that you never know you've lost something until you've actually lost it, or you never appreciate something until you've lost it. You know, that old cliche where like you don't appreciate someone and then they break up with you and then you realize, oh wow, I've taken them for granted, you know, that kind of thing. It's the same thing. Like, you need negativity, you need something negative to spark something that's positive. Likewise the other way around as well. Like too much negativity, we obviously all know what that's about. You'll just amount to nothing, you'll just be depressed, you'll be unhappy with life, and you'll end up just never reaching your potential. If negativity just grips you and manifests from you and there's no positivity, you'll end up creating problems, you'll end up having a problem, and you'll never get anywhere, and you'll never reach your potential, you'll never be happy. And we all know what negativity is about, but that's why I'm talking about. Too much negativity is an obvious one, but too much positivity is also not a good thing. They need each other, they thrive off each other, and that's why I think it's great to be positive. I think that the world is overly negative. It's mostly a negative place. And the very common sort of quote, very common sort of way of thinking is positivity is the key, or positive vibes only, like no negativity. But it's like, don't take that literally though, because you need negativity, you need them both, you need a fine balance. I believe you should be overall positive, a positive person, but using the negativity to improve you. Like, because negative emotion, negativity manifests. If you let that one thing get you, it spreads like a virus. It spreads within you, it just grows, it makes you overthink, it makes you angry or depressed. You know, if you let it just eat you away, it gets worse. So rather than like what everyone says, just block it out, you know, like sweep it under the carpet, just throw the negativity away like it never exists. No, why don't you put the negativity in a cage, you lock it up, and then you use it when you're ready, and you extract little parts of that negative, horrible emotion, and you just extract little bits into something positive, into the positive pool, bit by bit, and you keep it locked up. You don't throw it away, you keep it locked up. And in that way you're balancing them both. It's all about keeping the elements under control, I believe. And that is the key, and I believe that is what the yin yang means. I think that is what the meaning of the yin yang is. Well, let's go to opinions. Sometimes negative opinions can actually change an outcome to be a positive outcome, right? Negative opinions can be true, and that's that truth. I think the truth is kind of a neutral. It's a neutral. It's bang in the middle between being a positive and negative. But in the long haul, the truth is always a positive. It's always the right thing in the long run. Lies are wrong. Lies are like a short term could be a positive, but in the long run they're negative. You know, when someone lies to make someone feel better, or they hide the truth, the hard truth that could be a negative. They lie to hold the truth, but in the long run, it's always good when someone knows the truth. And the reason why the truth is the best thing is because it's real. It gives you the best likeliness of positive change, because you know the truth. You know the real thing. So it's the same with like when people want change, And change can often be seen as positive. It can be either positive or negative. But in a positive, let's just see it from a positive perspective, a positive scenario, should I say. Without a negative opinion, it prevents change a lot of the time. You know, when like you see it, say in football, you see really angry fans wanting change, and they're all angry and have really negative opinions, but then it causes change, and then the change being a new manager, and then they could go on to be successful. Or like the same with like government or anything, you know, or like even like games, video games. People could get angry at the company. They'll voice their opinions, which are always negative. Negative opinions are always the most powerful opinions. Positive opinions are not noticed nowhere near as much as negative opinions. Negative opinions cause change. That's the biggest reason. Like, if someone's not happy with something, with a game, and all the fans outcry and they start voicing their negative opinions or criticisms towards the game that they don't like, it then causes the game company to have to listen to the fans, listening to fan feedback and changing it, creating a positive outcome, creating a better experience for people, meaning that brings more happiness or entertainment value, which means positive. It's the same with anything, the same with politics, not, you know, possibly politics, you know, like in Parliament, or even just the general people. They could voice their opinion, and it could be a negative criticism to a policy, and it might cause them to change. That's why petitions are made. Negative opinions make change, it can make a positive outcome. This is the point. If you never ever had a negative opinion, if we as a human race was unable to say anything negative, with regardless if that's constructive or not, but if we couldn't say anything negative, if there was no such thing as negativity in our minds, there would be no change. And change is often positive. You have to sometimes voice your opinion, and it has to be negative in order for there to be a positive change. Now, a lot of people ain't going to understand this. A lot of people might agree, a lot of people won't. One day you might, I'm not saying this in a pretentious way, but some people don't agree with me. They don't see it from my point of view. That's just my perspective on it, and that's my thought process on life. And I think that everything you do in your life has some sort of positive and negative effect. And it's weird how, like, you feel like as an individual in this big world, you don't have much impact, because it's insane to think that, like, whatever your problems are, if you just look at how big the world is, and then you look at how big the galaxy is, or the solar system, and then the galaxy, and then the universe, you just think of everything, the bigger picture of things, you realize how tiny and insignificant your life is. Like, how meaningless that one little problem in your life is. Just a minuscule tiny thing in comparison to how big the universe is, and just how big our life is. The problems are so insignificant, and your life is so insignificant. But what's incredible is, I believe that you feel like you have no impact, but your little insignificant self makes a difference, and everyone makes a difference. It really can make a difference, and you don't even notice. Like, you could walk in a room and there could have been like some really bad argument, and you know, when you get that bad vibe, that negative vibe, just that awkward vibe, or like you could like, they always say like nothing's awkward unless you make it awkward, and it's like kind of like that. I do believe that there is a way of getting out of an awkward situation if you know the right thing to do, and it's mainly just being positive. I think, like, if you have like say there's like 3 of you in a room, and like you don't know each other, and it's super awkward, and then two people try and talk and it's super awkward, like, you can just do something to just bounce out of that problem. You could just say something, brighten up the mood, you know, like be really positive, really talkative, really friendly, and it all of a sudden, it might not even be awkward anymore. All of a sudden you're all laughing, you're all really happy, and you get along. Just the same as the other way, like other way round. Like, there could be two people that are like having a laugh, and you could come in and say something really depressing, you know, or like really negative, and it could have a big impact, and it could be a buzzkill, as they call it, you know, a buzzkill, and it would just kill the vibe, you know, like you could just put up a really serious topic that's kind of dark, and then like all of a sudden all the jokes and laughter stopped, and it could carry through to someone as well. Like, you don't realize that the little negative things that you do can accumulate as well. So like, you could say something about someone, like a negative thing, like as a joke, even like, oh yeah, you're such an idiot when you do that, or oh yeah, like, I don't think you're very good at that. Like, you know, like little things that just like pluck away at someone, and you think, oh, it doesn't really do much, but it could stick with them for ages. It could, even if they don't realize it. Like, I think a lot of people that sort of bounce off and don't pay attention to people and what's said, it can still manifest and hit them subconsciously, and they don't even realize it. And it's just exactly the same as when someone does something positive towards you, when someone compliments you, when someone just gives you confidence, you know, like says things to boost your confidence, or praises something you've done so that you can go on to be more confident. It can subconsciously affect you as well. Like, you can go on, and deep down it might drive you to carry on doing what you're doing. And yeah, I mean, but then the flip side of that is that if someone praises you, you then feel like there's expectation, and then you fear failure, and that again is a negative emotion, and then you just end up caving under pressure. But another person would say, oh, I don't let the pressure get to me, and that's again controlling the negative emotion. It's about controlling the elements, and the positive negative energy is about controlling it, and being able to use the right amount of each element in your day-to-day life. I think everything you do in your day-to-day life has an impact on the world. You don't even realize it. I see positive and negatives, like, imagine it on like a scale, right? And on the far left is negative, and on the far right is positive, right? There's always like some sort of like point of that scale on the line where a certain situation is. Like, even like the way someone might say a joke or laugh, even the way someone will laugh towards something can always be like scaling closer to a positive or a negative in a fine way. You know, like when you do a survey and it's like on a scale to 1 to 10, how happy were you? 1 being really unhappy and 10 being really happy. Like, kind of like that. Like, situations in life can be like that, I find. But in terms of a positive and negative spectrum. So whether you think that's spiritual, whether you have that in a spiritual mindset, or even just like a mindset kind of way of thinking, or whatever it is, I just find that there is a fine line, and I think that being able to control it is the key. And I think that human beings are very, very easily drawn into negativity and sort of anger and hatred, and it draws you in. You can get drawn in to negativity when someone's angry at you, or when someone's arguing with you, or, you know, when someone's just bitching or whatever it is. It can pull you in sometimes, and sometimes you get caught up in it as well. And I think the key is being aware. The key is knowing how to control the negativity. I think that if you can use the negativity in an appropriate time. Sometimes it needs to be used, and other times you can use it in a sort of positive way. You can bounce it back in a positive way. And I find like calming down people as well when people are upset and angry, that kind of mindset goes into play. Is just don't react to it. Like, you know, when like say like a fight's kicking off, and like I'm usually like the peacemaker in it, and I'll break it up, and I'll go into it in a calm manner. Or I've had it before where people are kicking off over something in a situation at like work, for example, and just react in a calm way, in a calm, composed way where you're in full control, and you bounce it back in a positive light, so that they could it makes them feel better and it makes them calm. And it's just all about being in control of each element. I believe that is how you strive to success, is being able to use each element correctly in the fine-tuned, balanced way. Now obviously when someone sets their expectations too high, that's over positivity, and that leads to negativity because it leads to disappointment. And most of the time, when someone has their heads in the clouds, when their expectations are unrealistic, it's too difficult for them, and they underestimate how difficult something is, aka being overly positive. Now, it's fine to be positive, but you have to have the right balance, as I said. And I believe that that is essentially what taking every day as it comes. You see the dream and you're open to the possibility of it happening, and you're positive about it, but you're not so positive that you really just drop everything. So you believe that it's going to happen, and you truly believe, but you're not getting carried away with it, and you just take every day as it comes. You just see what happens. You just keep doing what you're doing in a positive attitude, and you take every day as it comes, and that way it doesn't lead to negativity as much, whilst it doesn't lead to as much disappointment and as much negativity. So that's another thing. It's all about balance. It's all about focusing on the now to make a better tomorrow. Fuck tomorrow. Think about now. Focus on now. Take every day as it comes. That, in my eyes, is the perfect balance of use of positive and negative. Taking every day as it comes, taking it one step at a time. Realistic, but positive, and still striving towards the so-called impossible. That is all I have to say on this topic. I could elaborate further, but I'm not going to. Really, I need to be in a conversation to elaborate, really. It's quite hard to go deep into it. Like, you know, when you're having a conversation with someone and they elaborate on it and they bring up something and then you can elaborate on it. That's the kind of conversation I need right now. But I'm talking to myself, obviously. So, that is all. I just wanted to share my thoughts with you guys. You may not agree, you may agree, but I just wanted to share what I believe. That is all. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave it a thumbs up. Peace.